we discussed about the Fiori architecture, where we had a deep dive into each of the components which are responsible for Fiori architecture, starting from the Fiori apps to tile mappings, and then we moved in. We also stressed about the backend and front end components, and then we found that how they are interlinked, what all you need to embed into the roles in backend, into the front end. I mean, we'll do a deep dive into it in when we come to our Fiori sections as well. But yeah, I mean, this was important because this is something which you'll do right in the system, and then for you to understand that once you put a group inside a role, or what you put a catalog, you can say. So what happens? I mean, what all things are there which are responsible for getting your end users work on the Fiori apps at the front end. And then we also moved to S4HANA deployment options, where we discussed about the two types of services which are offered by SAP, one being the S4HANA private cloud and S4HANA public cloud that is offered as a service. And then the other is the as a product, which is S4HANA on-premise. So we also discussed about like what all industries are responsible for, not responsible, but what all industries are suitable for adopt which kind of solution. And we also discussed the contrasting nature of each one of them. So just to give you a brief on what we discussed for S4HANA private cloud and public cloud, before we go into the hybrid model as well, which is also one of the offerings, and we will discuss about the pros and cons of this. Also, what I have thought is, I mean, it's since it was becoming too much of a theoretical thing, so I've thought that I'll try to club in the hands-on as well along with this session. So the hands-on were supposed to start from the module 4, where initially I had to teach you how you can work with the Fiori concept, but I'll be clubbing it. I think in the first half, we can do this deployment options, its pros and cons. And then in the second half, I'll walk you through the Fiori apps library. We will look into the system in which we have got access. And then I'll walk you through what kind of system access we have, and then how you can look into that, and then what all things are being offered in that. And then maybe you can even start doing a bit of hands-on, not complete hands-on, because for that I'll need to walk you through the entire steps which are required for catalog creation, group creation, role creation. Now, the initial topics are really theoretical, and then I think good to club the hands-on, or at least deep dive into the Fiori, where we have got the system access and all, so that we can leverage that as well. So, okay, we'll do it that way. So let's just start. We talked about one of the options was the on-premise deployment. So on-premise deployment, when I say, so it's basically like a traditional approach which SAP provides for implementing ERP system, where your software basically resides on the organization's own hardware, and it is managed by its internal IT team. So internal IT team is there, basis team is there. So I mean, the engagement by SAP is less. I mean, initially it offers you a system, and then you don't need to depend every time on them for any upgrades or any patches, or I mean, patches and all they keep on releasing, but it's not like as compared to the private and public cloud, where every 3 months you need to engage SAP in order to upgrade your systems, in order to troubleshoot if there is any issue which you can't trace it out. So that's the on-premise deployment, where your entire ERP landscape, including your data management, security protocols, customization, it's totally owned by the IT team or the client itself. So while it involves substantial upfront investment and operational responsibilities, it is still a preferred choice by many organizations, because most of them have very complex business processes which are going on from multiple years in the SAP landscape. They are having very high customization needs and very stringent data and security regulatory compliance requirements, we can say. So when it comes to hardware requirements, so the on-premise deployment necessitates basically an organization to procure and maintain the necessary hardware infrastructure, including the servers and the network storage equipment. So this requires, as I mentioned, a significant capital expenditure, but it offers an advantage of fully tailored hardware environment, which is owned by the client itself. Then it comes to the software licensing. So in addition to hardware, organizations also must purchase any perpetual licenses for SAP S4HANA. So again, it involves the upfront cost, but the licenses are owned indefinitely, and which again we can say that it's a potentially offering a long-term cost benefits as compared to the subscription model. So it depends from client to client that, I mean, what all things they want to go for. I think I provided some examples yesterday, but we can think of an on-premise by another example. You can consider an MNC in the aerospace and defense sector who had S4HANA or SAP from long time from ECC. They moved to S4HANA, and then still their preferred choice becomes S4HANA on-premise itself. So, I mean, why will an aerospace and defense industry will go for S4HANA on-premise? Like there can be multiple reasons. Anything you guys want to come up with based on our discussion. So, suppose you have got a client from aerospace or defense industry, and he is opting for S4HANA on-premise. So, what all things might be involved? I mean, why did he choose S4HANA on-premise over the other options which are available? Any thoughts?
Yes, Sonu. So because the data of the travelers and data of the scheduled flights and all other rosters related to the airlines, that can be very confidential at times. So it is preferable to use the on-premise. And similarly, in case of banks as well, they prefer on-premise because the data is very confidential.
Yes, perfect. I mean, that's totally right. So it's because of their highly sensitive nature of the data in which they operate upon. Because as I said, that it's a defense sector, so they'll have a lot of data which would contain the integrity of the country. So that becomes highly sensitive. So they don't want to move it to any cloud so that it becomes more vulnerable. If like it's still there are safety regulations, but then yeah, they still don't want to move to that area yet. So yeah, due to their highly sensitive nature of the data and their projects, it is a strict regulatory requirement around the data security and the national defense contracts. So the corporation opts for an on-premise deployment. So this will allow them to fully customize their ERP system to handle their unique manufacturing processes of manufacturing an aircraft, the aircraft parts. So some of the things they still don't like, they are very unique, which is particular to their own country, which they don't want to move out based on their aircrafts which they are manufacturing. And they're they're in integration with proprietary systems. So this will ensure that they have a complete control over data security and compliance. Yeah, and by like even they would be in compliance with the industry specific regulations of their respective geography. So next, we talked about S4HANA private cloud option. So private cloud option is also called as the private cloud edition, which SAP offers. So it offers a single tenant environment hosted by SAP or its authorized partners, and it combines the cloud's flexibility and the scalability with the ability to customize with the available cloud applications which are available by SAP. So once you have the private cloud, you are ready with the available cloud applications which client may already have or the client may plan to have in the upcoming days, as we talked about the success factors. So these are the things which are available. So client may have already procured it, or client may be in a position to procure it in coming years. So in that case, the S4HANA private cloud becomes a good option, and the deployment is also suitable for businesses seeking any cloud benefits without sacrificing the control and customization ability. So for this, like there was a client who recently I was interacting with. So the client is a large healthcare provider basically, and then it has a lot of hospitals and clinics across several regions. So it basically chose SAP S4HANA private cloud for its ERP needs. So being a healthcare provider, so this provider basically required a system that adheres to strict healthcare regulations, and it was including again privacy laws, and then even the healthcare data is very sensitive, as we know that, because it includes your patient data, the patient ailments, what it has. It includes even the family history of medical data. So this was a US client again. So they had the HIPAA policy, which is there in the United States, and it is very sensitive to the medical records which are present in the cloud. So basically, the private cloud allowed the healthcare provider to tailor the ERP system to its complex healthcare processes, and also it ensured that the data privacy is there. And by they wanted to rapidly scale the resources up or down based on the demand, And like they had success factors, they had SAP Concur as well for maintaining their finances. So again, that became a good choice for them. So the healthcare provider went for the SAP private cloud instead of the other options which were available. So next is the SAP public cloud, the third deployment option which we talked about. So it's also called as SAP S4HANA Cloud. So it is like a multi-tenant cloud solution offering, and it's basically the most current SAP offering with the latest SAP innovations, and it is offered in a subscription model only. So it basically provides you a scalability, ease of use, and as SAP claims it's basically the lowest total cost of ownership. So the total cost of ownership, or the TCO, which they say, it's basically the lowest among all the offerings of SAP. So the organizations basically can benefit from this SAP's continuous innovation, because every 3 months or even less than that these days, SAP is releasing some or the other updates for public cloud. So you can basically, if you procure it, you'll be in touch with almost all the innovations like artificial intelligence, machine learning, what all is coming up with the new age innovations. So that all SAP is first trying it out in public cloud wherever feasible. So you can be at the forefront of innovations without the need for any manual updates or maintenance. So whenever any upgrade happens, I mean, it's the ownership of SAP. I mean, it's again the SAP and client need to work together, or the person who is maintaining the public cloud. So, but then again, I mean, SAP's involvement is quite crucial for every upgrade. So, I mean, it reduces a lot of manual maintenance or update thing, which we do for the other versions. So it's basically ideal for companies looking for cost-effective solutions, and they are looking for quick deployment options. So for them, the public cloud becomes a good choice. So recently, for regarding this public cloud, if I think about, so there was an e-commerce startup basically, which required an ERP system that can quickly adapt to its rapidly evolving business model, which they had in plan. So they were planning a very aggressive business model, and then they want to scale up heavily. So they basically chose the SAP public cloud option over all other options available because of its lowest upfront costs, which it offered. The other advantages which the client saw in it was again the ease of implementation. So the implementation was much quicker as compared to the other options. And again, the ability to scale operations efficiently was something which the client saw that in the public cloud. So as the startup, it basically wanted to expand its product lines and enter the new markets. So that was their agenda for upcoming years. So SAP Public Cloud basically supported its growth with minimal IT overhead, and then it allowed the startup to focus on innovation and market expansion. Yeah, that was about SAP Public Cloud and why the e-commerce startup chose it over the other options. So in conclusion, if I say amongst all the three offerings, when selecting the right S4HANA deployment option basically depends on your organization's specific needs, whether it's the complete control and customization offered by an on-premise deployment, or the flexibility and customization of SAP private cloud, or the scalability and innovation of the pace with which SAP public cloud is growing. So yeah, so that's what I mean. Depending on the clients which you all will be working on, I mean, even if you are not involved in the initial discussions of procuring that what S4HANA solution the client chose, depending on the industry the client belongs and the regulations the client needs to adhere to, you can think about these options, that these might have surely been considered at the time of purchasing the right S4HANA deployment by the client. So the almost these real life cases which I presented, they basically illustrated how businesses across the various industries are leveraging the different deployment models to align with their strategic goals, operational goals, strategic goals, and even the needs and the compliance requirements are need to be adhered to. So yeah, that was a quick recap along with a few of the examples which I thought I should give you before we jump on to the pros and cons, because each comes with dedicated pros and cons, and then even you need to think about them before proposing it or before thinking of applying that in a real life environment for any client. So the next option, which is the first option which we'll be talking about for today's class, it's the hybrid deployment. So basically the hybrid model offers the best of both worlds, as they say. So hybrid deployment model basically offers a flexible and strategic approach which the client can opt for. So it blends basically the best features of your on-premise and private cloud and public cloud, and basically combines the best features of all the three deployments, you can say, in that way. So this deployment strategy basically allows the businesses to distribute their ERP components across different environments based on the specific needs, such as the requirements which we talked about, like regulatory compliance, scalability, customization, innovation, which the client may look for. So the hybrid approach is particularly appealing for multiple organizations who are undergoing the digital transformation, and then this basically enables them to transition to cloud services at their own pace. So it basically allows them to do it at their own pace while maintaining the critical processes on-premise for security compliance or any other reasons. So yeah, this is one of the preferred approaches by multiple clients who want to ensure that they want to move few things to cloud, they want to keep few things to on-premise. They are still not ready to upgrade directly completely to cloud, or they still don't want to remain on-premise environment. So all of it, for multiple reasons, this becomes a preferred choice for multiple clients. So the concept and strategy which goes in the hybrid models basically is, this model basically involves running your certain parts of your SAP S4HANA ERP system in the on-premise environment and the other parts in either the private or public cloud. So it's a strategy designed basically to optimize the resource use, combining the security and control of your on-premise environment, of the security and control which your on-premise offers you, and the flexibility and scalability of the cloud services. So that's basically the concept and strategy behind the hybrid deployment. So when it comes to hybrid deployment, over the page, it looks like it's all good. Every client needs to go for the hybrid. But then again, there are some challenges which we need to consider when it comes to hybrid deployment. So the first challenge which comes is the complexity in the management. So operating across the multiple environments. So you need to maintain your on-premise, you need to maintain your cloud services as well. You need to make sure that there is a sync between on-premise and cloud environments. So that's something which is an overhead. So you need to make sure that you are investing good resources in maintaining your on-premise environment and maintaining your cloud environment. So that maintenance thing is something which becomes an IT overhead, and then you need to ensure that the resources which are there in on-premise are making sure that they are aware of what's there in on-premise and then what's happening in the cloud as well. Because tomorrow, if a new service comes in or there is any new function which is being acquired by the client, so there needs to be not equal distribution, but like what kind of distribution should go to cloud, what should remain in on-premise. That is something which need to be taken care of. So the next thing, the challenge which comes in the hybrid deployment is your integration and interoperability. So when it comes to integration and interoperability, basically ensuring the smooth integration happens between your cloud and on-premise is very critical. So your entire effectiveness of a hybrid deployment heavily relies on the seamless integration only between your cloud and on-premise components. So the challenges which arise from the difference in technologies, data formats, there would be definitely a difference in how your on-premise data formats are there, how your cloud data formats are available. Even the communication protocols, like we talked about the OData services yesterday. So the OData services which are there in the cloud, and then they definitely will assist us in getting your data from on-premise to cloud. It enables it gives a channel for communicating. But there would be a difference in the protocols or challenges. So the major challenge comes in the integration between your on-premise and your cloud. So it basically hinders your real-time data exchanges and your process synchronizations. So the strategies, again, for ensuring that integration is smooth is you need to have middleware solutions. So you need to have a middleware or integration platforms such as which can act basically as bridges. It can translate and it can route the data between your cloud and on-premise systems. So that's something which you need to have. Then you need to have an efficient API management systems. So you need to basically develop or utilize any robust application or programming interfaces that will standardize your data exchanges. and interactions across your different systems. And then it will ensure that there is a consistency and compatibility which is being maintained. The next is the data integration tools basically. So you need to deploy your data integration tools that support a wide array of data sources and formats, and that has to facilitate the smooth flow of information across the hybrid landscape. So if we talk about in detail, so like in a hybrid environment, maintaining a consistent and a comprehensive security posture is challenging due to the distributed nature of resources. So the risks are compounded by various security models which the cloud providers may provide and the on-premise infrastructures may support. So they need to basically comply with a broad spectrum of regulatory requirements as well, as we told. And then it may again apply differently across different environments. So yeah, so these are some of the things about the hybrid environment which we need to consider. But then still, I mean, if all of the things are considered and then the client is good to go with the hybrid, yeah, definitely it's a preferred choice because it is something which allows you time to take, I mean, that allows the client more time to move completely to the cloud and then leveraging the cloud as well as the on-premise deployment options in an efficient way. So navigating basically complexities of hybrid deployments in S4HANA environment requires a comprehensive approach to the management of your integration, security, and compliance. So the organization must invest heavily in the right tools and technologies and the expertise consultants to address these challenges effectively. So if done properly, it will ensure a seamless, compliant hybrid ERP landscape. And then by doing so, this can minimize or maximize the benefits of both the cloud and on-premise models. And then it will make sure that your operational efficiency and strategic agility is totally maintained. So yeah, that's about the hybrid model. So next comes is the dedicated pros and cons for each of the models which we discussed. So you need to know about the pros and cons of each models as well, because I think, I mean, before suggesting anything, if we are clear on the pros and cons, first of all is to understand that what is the deployment option, which we talked about. And then comes the pros and cons for each of the models, which we have discussed on. So that is also something which needs to be aware to you so that you can educate the client about the right kind of product which he is going to choose. So coming to S4HANA on-premise, so again, as the pros, as we talked about, it will give you a complete control. You will have your full control over the ERP system from the customization, integration with other system to data management and security. This is particularly advantageous for businesses with unique processes that require deep customization. Next is the data security and compliance. So that is also a pro, which I can think of when it comes to on-premise. So it will basically ensure that your compliance with your local data regulations is seamless, as data basically will be stored within your company's own infrastructure. And then this is crucial for industries basically who are subject to stringent regulatory requirements. So as we talked about the aerospace and the defense industry, so this is something which have a very stringent and regulatory requirement they need to adhere to. So that is definitely a pro for those, so that they can go for S4HANA on-premise. Then few other pros which I can think about is your high customization and integration. So your businesses can basically tailor to the ERP systems, and then they can have extensive, seamless integration with the existing systems. And then it again offers you a personalized, highly personalized solution, if I can say. And then performance and reliability is also something which is very heavy when it comes to S4HANA on-premise. So the direct control over your hardware and network can lead to definitely an optimized performance and reliability tailored to the organization standards. While there are pros, there are cons as well. So the cons can be your high upfront costs, which are there. So a significant capital investment is needed for your hardware licenses, software licenses, your hardware infrastructure setup. So all of it is something which are the initial cons, which I can say. Then there's maintenance responsibility. So the organization is responsible for maintaining the system, including managing the updates, patches, and technical support, which again requires a dedicated in-house IT team. So that also is one of the cons which we need to think of when it comes to the on-premise deployment option. So the next is basically your longer implementation time, which I can think of. So again, due to the complex customization and the integration processes which are involved in the on-premise deployment, it can take longer to basically get your system up and running as compared to the cloud options which are available for us. So next con basically comes to your scalability challenges, which I can say. So scaling the system to accommodate any business growth. So tomorrow, if your client tries to procure any of the cloud services, which is evident, I mean, because at the speed at which the cloud services are approaching the market, your client, if it adopts for any cloud services, then it will become difficult to accommodate it into the S4HANA on-premise system without getting any middleware for it. So basically, scaling your system to accommodate the business growth may involve any additional hardware investments, which can again be time consuming and financially impacting as well. So these are some of the on-premise pros and cons which I can think of. So next comes your cloud on pros and cons. So in cloud again we have your SAP private cloud and public cloud which are there. So when it comes to your private and public cloud, so if we talk about the private cloud pros, so it's basically starts with your customization with cloud benefits. So your private cloud offers a balance between your customization and the control of your on-premise solutions with the flexibility and scalability of cloud infrastructure as well. Next is the managed services, which you can say. So any of the SAP or its authorized partners will manage the infrastructure, including your maintenance, updates, backups, and it overall basically reduces your IT workload on the organization. Enhanced security is something which we can say in terms when it comes to private cloud, because while the infrastructure is managed by SAP, the companies can still benefit from the highly secure standards and meet your specific compliance and regulatory requirements. Next comes the scalability and flexibility. So basically your scalability and flexibility will also get improved because of the private cloud, that now it's easier to scale your resources up or down, procure any cloud services, get it embedded in your SAP private cloud. So based on the business needs, it all becomes very seamless without any significant. That was about the SAP private cloud. So these are the things which we need to think of when it comes to the pros of SAP private cloud. And when it comes to cons, cost is something which we can say that it is a con. So though it eliminates your heavy upfront hardware investment, the subscription cost basically can be significant over time. So if you're opting for private cloud and your subscription cost is less also, but over time it may become significantly heavy, as in when you try to scale up your resources, try to procure more cloud services. So it may not be a cost effective solution when it comes to private cloud, and especially with the high levels of customizations and support it allows. So due to the customization it allows, the client may tend to go for more and more customizations with the new cloud services, with some of the non-SAP services. So overall, with time, it may not be a cost-effective option. And again, I mean, though there's no upfront hardware investment which is involved, but yeah, cost is also one of the cons which we can say when it comes to private cloud. And second is your limited control over your infrastructure, which we can think of. So while the businesses have control over their applications and data, but the underlying cloud infrastructure is managed by SAP. So it is something which might not satisfy all the organizations. I mean, many organizations still need to have an infrastructure within their own premises, and they don't want to move it to cloud. So you'll still have your limited control. So that's something which is a con. And as compared to public cloud, we can say that customization is still limited here. So, I mean, though like sometimes it may have your more customizations than your public cloud, but there still may be limitations as compared to your on-premise option. So these are some of the cons which we can think of when it comes to SAP private cloud. So next is your SAP public cloud, which is the lowest total cost of ownership of option. So it's the cost-effective option amongst all three. So again, your lowest total cost of ownership comes with a subscription model that will cover your maintenance, infrastructure, and upgrades. So Your maintenance is covered by SAP, your infrastructure is something which SAP will own, and your upgrades are also something which SAP will heavily work along with you in order to ensure that the upgrades are seamless. So it makes it an ideal choice for businesses who are looking to minimize any upfront investments and then looking to customize as per their needs, adhering to SAP standards. The second pro which I can think about is your rapid deployment. So your rapid implementation and easy scalability to adopt to any changing business needs without concerning about the physical infrastructure is something which public cloud will help you. So that's a pro of it. And then you can always remain up to date. All the updates which are happening will come into your system in a regular interval. So that also becomes a pro for this. Then your operational efficiency is also something which we can think of. So it will reduce the need for your large in-house IT team basically to manage and maintain your ERP systems. So it will allow the company to focus more on the resources who can focus on your core business activities without the need for having a separate team for your maintenance of your ERP system. So those are the pros. And when it comes to cons, so yeah, definitely public cloud is a limited customization option. So it's basically designed for your standard business processes, which are figured out by SAP with the discussion with multiple clients that which all are the standard business processes, and then they have offered basically a lot of things standard for them. So it may not be applicable for all the business processes which are out there in the market, which clients are using. So it basically offers you less flexibility, and your customization needs are also limited as compared to on-premise and private cloud options. The second con which we can think about for public cloud is your compliance concerns or your data concerns. So for any businesses which are highly regulated industries with your specific data and regulatory requirements, so they need to rely on public cloud becomes challenging, because again as it's a public cloud, so they are using, like, their data center is still managed by SAP, and then that can basically pose multiple challenges for the clients. So that's something which is definitely a con when it comes to public cloud, and you need to depend on your internet connectivity. So that's something which is completely required for your public cloud. So since it's entirely cloud based, access to the ERP system is dependent on your internet connectivity, which might be a concern in some regions who are having unreliable internet services, or they have some restrictions. So again, that is one of the cons. So yeah, I think these are some of the dedicated pros and cons for your on-premise and your cloud, public and private both, when it comes to the deployment options. So in conclusion, we can say that the right SP S/4HANA deployment basically balances the specific needs of the business and the customization needs which are there. And then each model basically will offer a distinct set of advantages and challenges as well that the businesses would need to consider in the context of their long-term strategic objectives. So yeah, so that's something which definitely we need to think of, and then we need to reach out to the client when it comes to the discussion on the right type of deployment option the client wants to go for. So last but not the least is the hybrid also. So hybrid we have discussed in detail as well, but let's just see. A hybrid again will offer you a flexibility to choose your on-premise as well as cloud offerings. So that definitely is a pro which we will get with the hybrid environment. But yeah, as we discussed, the cons are definitely there, which can be again due to the management of both the on-premise and cloud deployments. And then you need to ensure that there are right kind of middlewares available to support the integration between two if required. I mean, some of them can still operate independently, but for some of them, you definitely need to have a balance between each one of them, different on-premise and cloud deployment.
Hey, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features: bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
Here we mentioned more resources required for the maintenance. Is it the client only or taking the ownership, having their own resource team for maintenance, or we generally have the SAP team supporting for the maintenance support, right? For any case, even it's a private cloud, public or on-premises, but in specifically for on-premises, whether this, the complete ownership will be coming to the client end, or as it is a SAP product, like SAP will be providing that maintenance.
Yes, Namrata. Got your question. I think I'll try to answer that. Good question, definitely.
Okay.
So coming to on-premise, right? So on-premise is something which SAP will support you in the initial when you are building it. So SAP will give you, but with time, on-premise is something which the client would need to maintain on its own. So if there are things which are not being managed by the client, then definitely, SAP, since it's a SAP's product, so SAP will provide support. But when it comes to the support, it's like will assist you with the things which you are not able to solve. So like if there are few notes which SAP can suggest, or when it comes to infrastructure, if there are few things which SAP themselves can try to point you in right direction, that they can do. But you'll need to maintain your own team who will basically be required to maintain your entire data center, your infrastructure within your on-premise itself. So that will basically require you more resources and a more dedicated in-house IT team when it comes to on-premise. So whereas if you compare it with cloud, so in cloud, SAP has their dedicated team for each of the clients who are responsible for any issues. So if there are any issues, you can, SAP themselves will point it out or they'll try to fix it. So you don't need to maintain a dedicated team who is having just, the dedicated team only for maintaining your infrastructure. So that's something which you get an advantage when it comes to cloud. But in on-premise, you need to maintain your team because they are the first people who are responsible. And if they are unable to solve, then they can reach out to SAP. So the ownership is with the client itself. It's not with SAP, if I can say in short, for on-premise.
Yeah. Okay.
According to the audit requirements and everything, it is necessary for the Indian customers and to keep all the financial data in the databases which are located in India very specifically. They should be in Indian geography. Yes. So how does this SAP private and public cloud are managing that? So are they taking care of that in that similar way, or how it is, if you have any idea?
Yes, sure. So like for Indian geography, like I haven't worked more on Indian clients, so I'll still need to research on it if the Indian geography is not allowing their client data or their personal data to not move to the cloud of which are operated by China or which are operated by US. But I can give you an example because I've worked majorly with the European clients. So for European clients, they have the stricter norms for GDPR and other norms which they have. So they have a limitation that, their people data, they can't be moved beyond the cloud, which is not maintained by the European Union. So for them, for the European clients, it becomes a good choice to go for a Microsoft provider, which has their data center maintained in the European region itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then when it comes to US, like again, they again have their norms. So, but again, US has their lot of data centers in US itself. So
yes,
I think they can go with any cloud. They can go with Google Cloud, Microsoft Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
But there, since I think the data centers for Indian clients also are supported by the Microsoft, even would have data center if available in India. So I think that's something which will be a preferred option instead of going for a cloud which has a data center in some other geography. But for European, it's definitely a strict. They can't move their personal data to any other region data center. So
correct.
Correct. Yeah. So the same it should be for India if it's there. But I need to check on that. How Indian clients are storing their data when it comes to cloud. So I can get back to you. But this is how in general it's being followed globally. So I think if India has become that stricter with the personal data, then definitely they will also opt for a data center for the cloud if it's available in India. Otherwise, they'll not go for that cloud provider. Basically.
True. Like since last financial year, it has become a stringent thing that the clients have to keep their data centers in India geography.
Okay, great. That's good to know. Definitely they should do that. They should do this with our personal data as well, which is easily available these days. So our Aadhaar records, PAN records, I don't know how
Yes.
many calls we get. So
Truly.
yeah, if it becomes stricter, it's good for us. At least it started with client data, so definitely personal data also will come in the coming year.
See, I'm new to SAP HANA, and even though the clients also not much aware, they wanted to have that implemented S4 HANA into that. Like, I'll be helping them to choose the deployment option here. So, do we maintain a list of the queries? Because see, the point pros and cons helping us to understand what will be the choice client has to make for his business. But here
Correct.
we have to ask the questions, right? The list of questions has to come from us, like what data security they need, what resources they plans and all, right? So do we maintain any type of, or do we have any list of queries to be discussed with the client so that we can help them to finalize the deployment option?
Yes, Namrata, definitely we have it. So, I mean, like these which we talked about, I mean, these are the deployment options which are available. But when it comes to asking the right questions and suggesting them the right kind of deployment option, which we will see further, is a dedicated session on the greenfield implementation, brownfield implementation, and even we have bluefield. So in there, we'll definitely walk through that what exactly is required. So because first of all, it comes that what kind of option do you want to opt for? Is it a greenfield? Do you want to completely move to a new system itself? Or do you want to go for a brownfield, which is more like a system conversion or system conversion, or just upgrading your ECC to S4 HANA, or moving your S4 HANA to S4 HANA private cloud if they are going for. So these are some of the things, and in there we'll definitely have like not a dedicated questions which I have prepared, but yeah, I think I have noted it. I can definitely try to, because I mean there's not a standard list which SAP offers. But yeah, I mean, like being a SAP consultants who are helping the client choose the right product, we need to have those questions. So I can try to prepare it based on my experience, what kind of questions we prepared. But yeah, we'll definitely have a good methodology that what kind of implementation option you need to pick. And then, even asking the right question is something which is required. So I've noted, I'll definitely pass on the questions in a standard way if possible. But yeah, there's a methodology which you'll need to follow in order to check with the clients that how are they planning to do the migration, or how are they planning to adopt the new SAP products. So that will have in the coming sessions, for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Sonu. And small thing, whenever we have come across any topic, it will put your experience, your challenges you faced and you solved it. It will help us to understand more about that topic. If we'll talk about the architecture also, like say you have faced some challenges and that architecture help you to solve it, right? So it will more help to understand why that architecture is more important for us to understand, because that architecture help you to solve your queries. So your experience will help us more. That's a request. If you will add some type of things when we will.
Yes, I correct.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I try to add, but then definitely I'll try to tell you more, because like yesterday, one of the things was this OData services, which was quite challenging for me. So I tried to explain you based on how I understood it. So I'll try to add more depending on what all challenges I face for each and every topic, because I think these topics are again, I mean, very lengthy, and then we need to make sure that we try to understand it. So I think my experience topics will definitely provide you more insights rather than only the theoretical part.
Yeah.
For the same set of SAP, like on-prem and cloud and hybrid, how much variation is there approximately? Price difference.
Price difference for on-prem and hybrid. Okay. So I can't tell you directly.
On-prem and cloud and hybrid. Most of the cloud, some of the same set of infrastructure. How much difference is there?
Yes. On-prem and hybrid, you're asking, right? Or
cloud.
Okay, on-prem and cloud, and then in cloud, do you mean private cloud or public cloud? Because both of them will differ.
Both. Approximately how much price is it? Where is variation is there?
So when it comes to on-prem and private cloud, you'll have significant difference, but not much, I would say. But again, when I say about cloud, then it comes that why did client choose the private cloud? What all options in cloud he has? So if he has less of cloud and more of on-prem, then the difference would not be marginal. It would not be much. But again, it would be there because the infrastructure will go to SAP. But when it comes to cloud, I mean the private cloud, if I'm saying here, Then if the on-prem is less and the cloud services are more, then the total cost would become significantly higher. So in that case, we need to do the comparison, because in on-prem, the costs are definitely high. So when it comes to cloud, private cloud, if you're saying, then private cloud will allows the flexibility for having your on-prem as well as your cloud options, right? So the less of on-prem you will have, the less of cost you'll bear. So the more cloud you have, it is more advantageous for you in terms of financial benefits, because of the infrastructure thing basically costs heavily when it comes to owning the on-prem and cloud both. So yeah, that's how we need to figure out. I mean, and then if you compare it directly on-prem to public cloud, then the cost difference is significantly less for a public cloud, because there you'll need to spend very less, I mean, almost negligible only for anything related to in the infrastructure. It's totally owned by SAP. And and then private cloud is something where your infrastructure is still there with you. But if you are talking about the numbers, then that's something which I'll still need to research on and would need time to get back to you, because I think numbers related game is something which is different for different people, and then different clients get different type of discounts also. So I think, as I mentioned last time, for licensing also same thing happens. So, but yeah, I can try to get you the numbers between this on-prem to private cloud and to on-prem to public cloud. I've noted that. But yeah, these are the things which goes into consideration when it comes to the differences. That what kind of on-premise systems are you owning, and then how much is your cloud services which you are subscribed to. So these are the things which will go on to your numbers if you talk about. But I'll try to research, and then I'll try to get back to you based on the clients which I'm still working on. If I have, because the purchasing team is separate, so we need to talk to them in order to understand that what was the final figure that they got in.
Yeah, thanks, Sonu. Because my previous client was chargeable around on-prem was around 2.5 crores for IBM server. But they are looking for that cloud. But approximately what exactly the figuring? Like if it is the 2.5 crores, so if they are moving to the cloud, how much cost they are expecting? Like it is 1 crore. Like it is, for example, 2.5 crores. It will, if they are going to the private cloud, how much it is? It is 1 crore or 1.5 crore. What is the ratio between the on-prem and cloud? So due to that reason, I'm asking you. And thanks for giving that some brief explanation. Let it be then. If you have any more information, let us. No problem.
Sure, Suresh. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can get back to you earliest by tomorrow, but I'll try to get it. Because I think I'll need to talk to their purchasing team which operates in different time zone. So I need to check with them. But yeah, a couple of clients who had on-prem and they moved to private or public cloud, I think I can try to get you some numbers for sure. But again, I mean, when it comes to private cloud for your client, are you aware that, I mean, if he's wants to opt for private cloud, like what all cloud services he has, like what will be the percentage between on-prem to cloud which he wants to own? Because that will be your significant factor which will decide your private cloud price. So,
yeah,
I mean,
sure,
as you're saying,
you go ahead, no problem. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, because I think that will decide your prices. So, yeah, I think, but I can definitely check and try to get back to you on something which might not be related to you also, because again, private cloud is a mixture between how much you have on-prem and how much you have cloud. So, yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, no problem. So, yeah. So the next deployment options which we'll have, these are the approaches in which we need to approach any digital transformation or any migration. So these are the terms which we hear day in and day out, that the client is going for greenfield, or the project is greenfield project, or the project is brownfield. And there are different names for bluefield these days. Like this is called bluefield now, which is like a hybrid approach. So when it comes to explaining in short, like we have dedicated sessions also where we will have a deep dive into how we approach the greenfield, what all things you need to consider. The same for brownfield as well. So greenfield basically refers to your deployment methods which are implemented using a approach which is called as greenfield approach. So it basically refers to scrapping all your legacy data or your ECC system if it's been operating, and then just moving to a completely new S4HANA system. So all the business processes, all the customizations which you would have done in your greenfield, all of that, or which you would have done in your ECC, all of that you'll need to do it freshly in your new system. So there is a good amount of time investment which needs to be kept in mind when a client opts for greenfield. But then again, this is quite advantageous as well because there would be a lot of redundant data, a lot of things which is not required in the new S4HANA system when the client moves to. So the client will definitely get an advantage if he moves to greenfield. But it depends that if he is ready to invest that time and money and then he's ready to start everything fresh. So that's your greenfield approach where no legacy data or anything is carried and you basically try to work on a fresh system or a fresh home right from the scratch you are trying to build. You can think about it. So like everything you need to do on your own. So and then SAP will be there to assist you depending on the kind of product you opt for. So that's your greenfield. When it comes to brownfield, so brownfield is nothing. You can consider it as your system upgrade itself. So it's like your ECC system is available and then that particular system only is getting upgraded to S4HANA. So still, I mean, it's not like everything in ECC will move to S4HANA. So it depends that whatever data you have available. If we talk about security, so the T codes we have, the Fiori apps. If ECC was implemented with Fiori, the Fiori apps which are available, if they are supported in S4HANA, they will move. So that analysis needs to go in, which we will see in the later slides or later PPTs. That how do you do that analysis when it comes to brownfield? That what all things are S4HANA compatible, what all things is something which you will need to get away with because those things are not supportive in S4HANA anymore. So those things will need to be analyzed. So when it comes to brownfield approach, it's like moving to S4HANA, but the client still wants to have some of its legacy data carried away to S4HANA and then not move to entirely a fresh system because there can be multiple reasons. There can be definitely some of the audit logs which are auditing reasons, not audit log, due to which the client is subjected to not remove its legacy data. Or even in greenfield, you can't still remove the audit logs. I mean, you need to basically retain it somewhere. You need to put it in a place where it can be accessed at least for a certain period of time. But when it comes to brownfield, it's like it will be there residing in your system itself. So then you will be upgrading to a S4HANA box by considering what all things would be compatible for the respective S4HANA version which you are opting to. So that's your brownfield approach. Then comes your hybrid approach. So hybrid approach is that, I mean, some parts of your ECC you'll migrate to S4HANA. I mean, the same box will migrate to S4HANA, and some parts of it which were there operated in ECC, they'll move now to the new system or to the cloud system. So the hybrid approach becomes more accessible for the clients who are still unsure that if they want to move directly to S4HANA or they want to still run on ECC. So they can decide that which all category of things they want to move to cloud and which all things they want to have still remaining in the ECC system. So that becomes a hybrid approach where it will allow them more flexibility to migrate as in when the time comes. So they'll still need to migrate because ECC will stop supporting by 2027, which we'll see, which SAP has a strict deadline now, which got moved. Initially, it was 2025, moved finally 27. So they will need to migrate, but then they can still take their time. They can migrate some of their resources to S4HANA and some of the bits which they are thinking that it's not ready to be migrated, they can be migrated gradually. So that's your blue field or your hybrid approach, which they call. So any questions, any queries? I mean, we'll have definitely a deep dive in each of this, but yeah, just wanted to touch upon this before we dive into the deep sections of each one of them. So from an overall standpoint, you still need to be aware of what is this when it comes to at least the names of greenfield, brownfield, bluefield. Yes.
So we understand that, okay, greenfield implementation is totally from the scratch and brownfield is like where the conversion happens, right? And what if customer asks some of the tracks actually they want as is and some of the tracks they wanted to go for a conversion?
Yes, Sridhar, yeah. So that's what, I mean, last approach which we talked about, the blue field or the hybrid approach. So it will allow you to make sure that you segregate that which of the areas you want to migrate to S4HANA or to the cloud, and so which of the areas you still want to carry forward in your ECC system itself. So you want to carry forward that you can still carry forward and some of them you can move. So for them, the hybrid approach or the blue field approach is there. So you can suggest this one on the client.
Okay,
Which they can opt for.
if they're not opting for the cloud, then if it's everything is on premise.
If they're opting for on-premise S4HANA, still it becomes a good choice for them, because here it's just a deployment option. So I mean, they are just selecting this approach, but they are moving to S4HANA on-premise, right? So that also is applicable for hybrid as well. So it need not be that hybrid means you need to move to cloud only. Hybrid here means that you can move to S4HANA on-prem as well, along with keeping your ECC box intact. So as we discussed, I mean, for deployment, we have three options are available. One is your on-prem, which is like SAP S4HANA on-prem model, and the other is the SAP S4HANA cloud. So if the client opts for hybrid, so he can choose any one of the SAP S4HANA models which are available. So in your case, you're saying that the client wants to move to SAP S4HANA on-prem is a product option. So this can be opted, and then the remaining data which he doesn't want to move can still remain in ECC. So hybrid is an approach for selecting your right S4HANA product and then keeping the rest of your data in ECC. Did it answer your question, or like was
Yes.
it not clear? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, any other queries? Anyone?
We're going to discuss on any methodologies also, Sonu, as part of this training. For example, we have this active methodologies open.
Yeah, SAP Activate, right? You're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. We have that. I mean, when we'll go to this greenfield deep dive, we'll basically start with SAP Activate only. So SAP Activate is something which you'll definitely need to know about. So we'll discuss about all the phases available, and then how can that be interlinked to your greenfield, and then what all security activities we can think of. So we'll be discussing that. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Talks about the deployment over ECC. So I think we have talked enough about S4HANA deployment. So I think this is already covered anyways. So SAP S4HANA deployment will offer you an advanced security features like data encryption, anonymization. So that was something which was not available in ECC. So yeah, those advantages, and there are multiple advantages which you may have when you go to the S4HANA option, whether it is on-prem cloud, public cloud, and anything.
Regarding this brownfield, so like you said, in brownfield, your existing ECC will be taken up to your S4HANA. So all the customization that is there in ECC will be done as per the S4HANA, or the customization will be taken up as a standard in S4HANA? We'll be having a standard function in S4.
Yes, Pratibha. So when it comes to moving your customizations to ECC to S4HANA, I mean, first it needs to be checked that in that customization, which all things were done, so that if they are S4HANA compatible, the version which you are moving to, then they can be moved as is. But if any of it is not compatible, then yeah, you'll need to either work it out in ECC itself by having a compatible S4HANA version, or you'll need to again build it afresh in S4HANA. So yeah, we need to look into it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
I think this is the SAP system which you all would have got access to, SAP S43. So I thought I'll start with this, giving you a brief on the system which we have got. And if time permits, we'll go to Fiori Apps Library. We'll just look at how we can relate to what we have got in the system, and then how we look into the Fiori Apps Library as well. What is a Fiori Apps Library? I mean, we have dedicated slides available for it. But yeah, I think that we can mix and match with the deployment options, greenfield, brownfield, and everything along with this. So I think it will be more interactive, and then it will help you as well to understand the concepts in a more better way than only going through the slides, I think. Yeah. So this is the system. So for understanding that what is the SAP S4HANA version we have, what is the Fiori system, this is contained. So you first need to go to system, go to status. Here you'll need to go to product version, then go to installed product versions. So as you see here in our installed product versions, we have S4HANA On-Prem, S4HANA Foundation, SAP Fiori FES for S4HANA, and a few others. So in your actual client landscape, there might be more. So not all of this is something which is applicable to us. So how do you see that? What is applicable to which installed product version is something which we need to look into whenever we are working for any client, is something which we'll talk about right now. So for us, it's the first thing is the S4HANA on-prem and the release of it, which is important. So this system which we are working on contains S4HANA on-prem, which is on the 2023 release. And it is, as you see here, the service pack is mentioned as the initial shipment stack. So this is also important for us because as in when SAP releases the new upgrades, you'll see here either SP01, SP02. So why it's important for us is, as that we'll see in even the Fiori apps library, that depending on that, your compatibility with Fiori apps is tested. So if you have a shipment pack which is on SP01 and you still try to search for an initial shipment pack in the Fiori apps library, then some of them may not start working because you are already on an upgraded system, and then it may support either more apps and then it may not support some of the apps which were being supported in the older service stack as well. So whenever you see initial shipment, it means there has been no service pack upgrade yet on this. So that we'll see in the Fiori apps library as well. So the first thing we need to see is the which S4HANA version we have. So it is S4HANA on-prem 2023. And the next thing which is in this system is SAP Fiori FES and SAP Fiori for S4HANA. So this particularly system which we have got access to contains embedded Fiori. So it means your SAP S4HANA backend as well as your SAP Fiori's front end, both are installed in the same system. So this is something which we need to look for. If it was a central hub scenario, then this Fiori system which you are seeing here as a product which is added, it would not be here. There would be only SAP S4HANA, and in the Fiori system, you will be seeing, which would be a separate system, you will see it as a different system. So since this is embedded, you have both your Fiori as well as your backend system in one S4HANA box only. So this is something which is crucial for us because it will decide the Fiori apps which are compatible, and then it will decide how do you want to approach the Fiori apps library. So this is something which you all can also go and then check in your respective system. It should be the same. And even in your client systems also, when you start working on it, this is the first thing which you should go and see. Because, even after you have committed to SAP, they may not, if they have not installed the correct version or the correct product, this is something which you can go and see. So yeah, that's something which we should do as in when we get the system access the first time. So next, coming to the installed software component versions. So again, all of it is not related to us because again, even the product versions and software component versions, these all are taken care by basis team before handing over the system to us. But then still, we need to have a look over it in order to understand that what all things are installed in the system. So as you see that wherever you see SAP UI, it refers to your Fiori interfaces only. So UI refers to a user interface. So there is a SAP UI here. Then if you come down, you'll see a bit more UI packs which are there. You have your UI GRC GTS. It means your SAP Global Trade Services is also installed in this. The UI for it is there. So UI for your human capital management is also installed. For your S4HANA is also installed. So all of them is installed in this system. So this is something which we can just have a walkthrough. But yeah, all of it is not something which will affect in our day-to-day work, but good to have a walkthrough over it in order to understand that what all things are installed in your SAP system. So next, I wanted to show you the Fiori apps library. So for moving here, there's nothing, just go in Google and then try to search for SAP Fiori apps library. The first link which comes out, you can just move there. Yeah. So before moving to this, I just wanted to show you, let's just see first how many total apps are there. Okay. So we see that we have a total of 16,500 applications which are available, and then it contains all apps, for different product versions of SAP S4HANA. And it can be for SAP S4HANA, it can be for your SAP Business Suite as well. So SAP Business Suite is nothing but your SAP ECC. So SAP ECC also is called as SAP Business Suite. So wherever you see SAP Business Suite being referred to, it is nothing but your ECC system. So as we see that there are 16,500 apps currently. So we all have worked on SAP ECC environment, right? Can anybody tell me how many T codes are available in SAP ECC?
Around
any
1,70,000.
Okay, yeah, that's close. Anybody else? Any other count? Any other guesses? I mean, how many T codes are available in your SAP ECC? Okay, so I'll move. So yes, Ayush, I think you were close. So it's like total. What I remember talking to SAP the previous day when I was calling with them. So they mentioned 1,50,000. So I think 1.5 lakh is the count which they mentioned, but so 1.7 lakh is maybe very close only, I can say. So, but yeah. So, but the main point of asking this question was, as we see that total we have over a lakh or almost 1.5 lakh T codes in ECC. And then here combining all apps, we are just having 16,500. So we see that, I mean, why SAP is moving to Fiori? That's because they want to move away with having multiple transaction codes for each activity and then combining lot of transaction codes into one app. So these are the things which SAP's plan is. And then, I mean, SAP is still working on and then adding more and more apps for the different product versions. So, I mean, till 2 years back, if you would have seen, so the count was 13,000 or 2 to 3 years back. I remember seeing in 2021. So the count was 13,000 and now total count has moved to 16,500. So this is something which we need to contrast, that in ECC we used to have lakhs of T codes, and then Fiori, which is doing the same thing which in terms of business. But then when we talk about scaling up, when we talk about improving flexibility or the improving our overall system performance, so this is one of the major factors, that the overall T codes management which used to happen, it is brought down to just thousands or 16,500 as compared to the lakhs of T codes which we used to have in SAP ECC. So if we talk about the Fiori apps which you can look for in the system which we have got, so you can go on all apps and you can still search for it. But the correct approach for it would be, you first need to go on all apps for SAP S4HANA. So when you come here, you'll see again the all apps option. You can filter it out based on your line of business, your industry, your roles. So if you'll do it by line of business, so based on which line of business your client is, what all Fiori apps are applicable for that client he can choose from, is something which you can see it here. So for different industries, you'll have different kind of Fiori apps and with the numbers that what kind of Fiori apps are available. But coming to our system, as we saw that our system basically was on SAP S423 release. So we'll go to all apps for SAP S4HANA, we'll go to product version, and then we'll basically go to our SAP S4HANA initial shipment pack 1. So this is the one, this is the latest one which is available for SAP Fiori for S4HANA. So let me open that. Let me just look for one of the apps. So let's just look for an app called as Sales Order. You'll have many apps for Sales Order. Let me just pick Sales Order SAP S4HANA. So yeah. So you see that we have picked this Fiori application, for example. So this is the sales order application, and then there are multiple categories in which are mentioned for it. So first thing is going here. You have selected SAP S4HANA, that's okay. But since you see something called as FPS01, it is nothing but your service pack upgrade 1, which is not applicable for us because our system is currently at initial shipment pack. So for it, we'll need to select SAP S4HANA. So as soon as you select it, there are few things which will get changed, which we'll see in the coming classes, that if we would have selected FPS01 over this, then there would be few things which would be not compatible with our 2023 initial shipment pack. So we need to ensure that these two things are correct before moving on to the other implementation information or product features. So this is something which we need to do, and then this depends on the system you have got. So again, let's see that what is available here. So the required backend function is SAP S4HANA, which is good for us because that's the system we are operating on. Then you have your line of business. So it basically, your sales order is applicable to your budget and finance. It's to your business development, customer operations, sales. So for all of it, this sales order application is being applicable to. Then what is the application type for it? So currently it is mentioned it as this is a fact sheet. So we'll come to that in detail. So you have various application types. So you have a transactional app, you have fact sheet app, you have analytical apps. So all of it will look into detail. But yeah, for now, yeah, it is a SAP fact sheet kind of application which we have picked. Then database we see that it is a HANA DB exclusive app. So for this app to run, HANA DB is required. It is mandatory. So why they have mentioned this is because there are few apps which are still, as we saw that SAP business suite apps are there. So for them, this HANA DB exclusive is not something which is mandatory because for ECC, the other databases are still allowed. So there we'll see that what is the difference when it comes to database. Next, it's the device type. So this application basically is supported in all three device types which are supported by SAP. So it will work in your desktop, it will work in your smartphone, and then it will work in your tablet as well. And we also have a specific app ID for this application, which is F18. So for every app which is there, you will have a specific app ID, like we used to have a specific T code ID for our transaction codes. So yeah. So if we talk about this, I mean, I'll not move to any implementation information in this session, but basically this was to show you that this is how something you can move to sales order or any other app. If you want to search for, say, create sales order, let's just look at if you go to create sales order, what's the difference it comes. We have create sales order. Yeah. So SAP S4HANA, again, we need to pick 2023. So as soon as you did it, again, few things will change. So your again backend product is SAP S4HANA, your app launcher title, what is this and all that we'll see in the coming sessions. So application tab is web client UI for it. So this is also something which we'll see because there is a new application types which are being added as well. So again, this is a HANA DB exclusive app which is being supported. So yeah, these are the things which we'll need to look into when it comes to Fiori apps library. So I just wanted to walk you through it. We'll have a deep dive session on it as well. So yeah, that was a quick introduction of how to look into your system, look into what is available, what level is your system in, what is the product version, which you can go in product version, install product version and see, and then how you can jump onto Fiori apps library and then how you can search for the available apps for your respective product version, which is installed on your system. Any queries still here? Anything which is not clear?
Sonu, can you show how to download this library?
You want to download what from library?
With the Fiori, all the apps.
Okay, all the apps you want to download. Yeah, sure. I mean, I can show that. But then instead of downloading all apps, I think it's good if you have some specific requirement for any product version or any line of business or anything, because if you'll download everything, you'll end up creating a lot of complex things that what is applicable, what is not. You'll again need to filter it out. But so there's a download option which we can definitely do. So if you and then you also have by roles and everything. So you can still go, you can still pick it, you can go to list view and then there's this download option towards the right bottom which you can download. But I would suggest not to download everything. You can have it for your own reference, but better to download only for the specific requirements which we have so that it becomes easier for us to filter down on the applications, because you'll have lot of things available and then it will end up in creating more confusion. But yeah, I mean, this is how you can download. Come here, you can select everything, click on download, so it will download everything which is available in the Fiori apps library for you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay.
So now after downloading, can we create any catalogs or groups for the respective things? How we can attain that one to the system like user?
Yes, Vikas. So I mean, like all of it we'll see step by step that how do you go and then what are the steps. I mean, this topic is like 2 topics ahead, so I just wanted to show you this. But I mean, how to work and all that's, yeah, I think let's work on that first and then maybe we can take it, because I think you are asking about creating custom catalogs, right?
Yes, like we are downloading here, right, for the catalogs, whatever we require, like VA01 or something else. So after we can download this thing, then how we can assign? That is my doubt actually. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll definitely guide you step by step. I mean, wherever download is easier for us to go to downloads, wherever the Fiori apps library is easier, what is the approach you can do? So we can definitely work on that. So because every time if the Fiori apps library is this well and then it is quite fast, so you don't need to download also. I mean, because it's readily available. So we can talk about that. So I mean, just bear with me for a couple of days maybe.
Okay.
Then you can definitely go ahead and do it as per what you want.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, no problem.